Hello, my loves, and welcome back to an episode of Embracing Power and Potential. Hello to all my listeners who are returning back. And if you are new here, or even if you are tuning in again, thank you, love you. Reach out to me in the DMs and just let me know that you listen. We can have a little chat because I see these numbers and I'm like, who are you? So reach out because I love to, connect with my community. If you haven't also, definitely go and check out last week's episode because honestly, it was my favorite actually episode I have ever recorded. It was from the soul. And of course they all are, but I just really got deep in my feelings last week, and even my editor said, wow, that was such a good episode. She didn't even want to put my coaching ad in there because it was fire. So go and check it out. And also, if you haven't, rate this podcast 5 stars if you love it, and leave a little comment here as well so other people can connect with us, and it just grows the audience, it lets more people see and get reach. So I'm definitely always appreciating all of you, and you know that every little bit counts. So love you guys. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome listeners to Embracing Power and Potential, your go-to podcast where we travel through the realms of personal growth, mindset mastery, and fear-conquering strategies to help achieve your greatest desires. I'm your host, Portia, and I'm thrilled to be your guide on this transformative experience. If you're ready to unleash your authentic power and elevate your life, you're in the right place. Join me and our special guests as we embark on conversations that will broaden your horizons and enrich your journey. So, sit back and immerse yourself in these unmatched discussions. It's time to expand your mind and your life. So today I want to talk about identity transformation. And I have been talking a lot about this on my Instagram, in my reels and on my stories about reinventing yourself. But when I say reinventing yourself or identity transformation, it's probably not what you think. For me personally, identity transformation has been the most profound part of my journey so far. And the funny thing is, it's not about changing who you are or becoming this brand new, upgraded, reinvented version of yourself, which I understand how people could get confused, but it's actually the opposite. It's about remembering. It's returning. It's peeling back every layer that you picked up along the way from your experiences, from the fears, the roles that you thought that you had to play to be loved, to be accepted, and to feel safe. So for me, this year or this past couple of years since Melbourne has been a process of coming back to my true nature. The version of me that existed before I learnt to dim my light and make myself feel small. The version of me that was playful and curious and expressive. My childlike self. And honestly, I have said this so many times to just people in my family or anyone in my circle. I've never felt more like myself than I do right now. And this isn't because I became someone new, but it's because I finally stopped being the person that I wasn't. Especially in my high school years and around just my journey, I lost myself. I lost who I actually was, and I became a nasty and bitter person. I've accepted myself and forgiven myself so I can, talk about my experience openly. But identity work truly isn't about building a new personality from scratch, but it's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be, before your experiences shaped you into someone that maybe you didn't like as much or was wounded. But without the mask, without the armor, and without the pressure to perform, this is when I have really been able to be myself again. So, on your personal development journey, it's about returning to yourself again. That is what I truly believe. Peeling back the layers that were never truly you. So, for an example in my life, I know I said this before, but using my high school experience example, the transition from primary school to high school, I changed so much as a person, and not completely in a negative way, but I think, just being in a new environment and the pressure of high school and the ego feeling like you have to be someone to survive, to get through. That's what happened to me, and I became someone that honestly now I look back and I didn't like very much at all. And it was a lot of, projection from being unhappy within myself, which was making me react even more and become even more bitter. So, and then at one point, I lost all of my friends in high school. And then I really became, I guess, a not really nice person. And, I've done a lot of work around this, and I've done a lot of shadow work. If you haven't, go and check my last episode out. But I have worked with my wounds, and I have forgiven my past versions of myself because that's what helped me survive at that time. And it was a protective mechanism. It was a mask that I was wearing. So through my inner work that I have done, going back to these experiences and actually sending love to those past versions of myself, I guess to my inner child, because at that time, that version of myself needed love and safety and support, and she didn't get that. So she was lashing out and being nasty to people and acting as if someone that I'm truly at my core, my true nature, really am at the complete opposite. So it's about returning to your core nature, to your roots. And I actually went through and I listed some of what I have experienced masks that I have worn during different phases of my life that you probably will be able to relate to in some way as well. So I'm just going to list a few here and give my examples of how these came up through my journey, just to get an understanding of how you may still be wearing these masks unconsciously. You may not even realize that you're in it, because I sure knew that I wasn't. I didn't know that. I mean, deep down, I knew that I wasn't being myself, but I thought that's who I had to be. So, firstly, the good girl. And this comes in, relationships as I sort of got from 15 onwards, when I started getting into long term relationships. The mask that I wore was a good girl. I would be the one that would listen and, would just do anything that my partner asked of me, because I thought that's what I needed to be to make him happy. And then that validated me and made me feel like I was enough. Or the easy to love mask. And it's sort of like the good girl, it's just saying yes all the time, even if you don't want to do something, or running around for your partner or your friends because you don't want to be a burden. You don't want to say no because you don't want to make things difficult. You just do it, you'll just be the easy one, the one that doesn't say no or really have a voice at all. You just do what everyone else wants as like a people pleaser. And then there's the rebel. This is who I was in high school. The one who broke the rules and thought I was, cool for not fitting into society or school settings, rebelling against teachers. And ultimately, I was just projecting from feeling out of place, from not really knowing who I was and who I wanted to be. And then there's the overachiever and the perfectionist, which, mind you, I am still working through these masks. But this is around, for me personally, not letting other people down, feeling validated through overachieving, so that when I'm praised for, overworking hard, or sports when I was younger, I was always making my parents proud, making my grandparents proud, not feeling shame, and sometimes, not doing the things that I truly wanted to do to make them feel proud, to make them happy. And I'm not saying that I've finished my journey and I've done the inner work and, now now I've come back to my core roots and I know who I am now. Like, this is an ongoing journey and I'm still working through my shit as well, but I'm aware of it. So when things do come up, I can actively work through it and change my perspective, change my mindset, change any beliefs that I have around myself and my authenticity, who I want to be and who I am versus who I think I need to be. Because remember that these masks, they weren't chosen, they were built as protection. Another mask is being too independent to be hurt. So not wanting to go into relationships, having your walls up, being hyper independent and not wanting to rely on anyone else, because that keeps you safe. Subconsciously, that is you protecting yourself. That is your ego saying, no, I'm not letting anyone in. I'm not letting anyone in, so I can't be hurt. And that's okay to be like that, but it's important to become aware of it and work through, your worthiness. You are worthy of love, and if you open yourself up, you are deserving of love. And when you become the person that you are at your true nature, that's when you will attract other people that magnetize to your true energy, not the people pleaser and not the wounded version of yourself, but your strong, independent self that is still open to experiences. Because at the end of the day, you know that you've got your back. And when you start doing this inner work, we are human. We're going to have feelings and emotions, and we're going to get hurt through our lives. But it's about being able to know that you have your own back and you can bounce back because you've done the inner work. You know who you are and you know what you deserve. And if you do get into a situation, if you've let your guard down and you feel like the energy is maybe not reciprocated or you're not being respected in the way that you know you deserve, you will be able to leave because you raise your standards when you work on yourself. A concept that I like to think about in relationships or really anything in life is your standards. Looking at a little photo of yourself, of a little version of yourself, in your early years, and thinking, would you let that version of yourself, would you let them be treated the way you are now? Because coming back to your true nature is coming back to that version of you, your inner child. So would you let them accept your shit now? It's always easier said than done. The inner work is hard and it's challenging and it pokes wounds, but it's so worth it because this is how you reach the other side. When you become a people pleaser and when you're wearing all these masks all the time, remember, a mask isn't a lie. It's not you being unauthentic, but it's a coping strategy. And it becomes exhausting when you forget that it is removable, when you start to actually do the work. So, through our journey, we are shaped by our experiences, by our family expectations, and this shapes us and creates our identity. So, we are peeling back all the layers from school environments, social comparison, trauma or micro wounding from childhood experiences, fear of judgment or rejection, and culture and gender conditioning. So these sorts of things, family expectations, these forces create a persona and it keeps you safe, but it probably feels restrictive because you're not able to be your full self. And after a while, of 10, 15 decades of wearing these masks from your conditioning, from all your experiences on your journey, you forget who you are. You forget your true nature. And that's why there's always like a grey period, I find, in everyone's experience that I've spoken to of who you were, from your wounded version of yourself, from all your experiences that conditioned you. And then when you're moving through to your next version of yourself, and when I say that, it sounds like you're shaping into a new person, but in reality, you're stripping away all those layers to become who you truly are. But in that period, there's like a grey sort of space where you don't know who you are. And that's okay. If you are in that space right now where you are moving through, different experiences that you've had, and you know that you're not happy with the person that you've been in your past, and you want to behave differently, you want to show up differently, but you don't actually know who that is yet, that's okay. Because there's a grey period, and this is the time where you get to figure out, who it is that you want to be, strip back the layers, send love to your past versions of yourself, and forgive yourself for how you survived to this point right now. Because the more that you change through identity work, is the more that you feel like yourself again. It is a weird experience, to be honest, because for me personally, I forgot, like, my nature is light and happy, and I am a bubbly person. I was such a bubbly kid, and I was confident, and I lost that completely through my journey. I'm grateful that I got it back, and even to be here doing the podcast, like, this is me. This is like who I am. I love to express myself. And that was me, doing identity work and realizing who I am and fucking remembering and being that person again. Because you drop the performance. You stop filtering yourself. You stop sourcing your worth externally from validation and trying to overachieve to be praised. And you return to the version of you that existed before distortion. So, to tell us some signs if you are in a transition period and transforming into your real self, you may feel lighter, not heavier and, I guess, dark and sad in a way. You react less and you observe more. You trust yourself instead of outsourcing every decision. You actually you're confident in your own choices. You have more internal peace, even when things aren't perfect. Because remember, you have your own back. You stop shrinking to make other people feel comfortable. And you feel more connected to your desires, not the ones you were told to want. For example, maybe your parents told you, oh yeah, you want to be a lawyer or a doctor, or you want to play this sport. And then, you do all the study and then you realize that's not what you even want. So one thing that I like to say is whatever hobbies or anything that you like to do as a kid, do them again, because that is truly what makes you feel like yourself again, and it brings you back to your roots. And this connects you to your inner child and your inner self, and then things will start just coming up. Like, I love to sing. Little hidden fact. So, and it's something I used to sing as a kid. Like, I actually had concerts and solo performances. So now when I'm alone, that's something that I do, and that just like connects me to myself. And I guess being a Gemini and an air sign, I can talk all day, hence this podcast. So Yeah, I've really like become myself again and I love it. So, stepping into worthiness, this isn't ego. This is actually you becoming in alignment with your higher self, which is your truest self. Identity upgrades aren't about chasing a fantasy that you're not ready for. So, when you're becoming in alignment, I believe that we move through different levels of life that brings each experience. When we pass another level, then we're ready for another experience to come in. And that's when we learn our lessons and upgrade and, keep becoming these new versions of ourselves by doing the inner work. So, some things to think about before I end today is, who are you before you learnt to play small? And actually, if you ever want to write these down in your notes, in your phone, or if you've got a pen handy, and then come back to this and use these as like journaling prompts and go deep in it. Start your identity work. Which parts of you feel most alive when you stop performing? What version of you feels like home? And what identity would you choose if fear wasn't in the room? So, my loves, identity work, identity transformation isn't becoming someone different. It's about coming back home to yourself, the self that you buried under survival, under expectations, and under fear. I love you so much, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you are new here, reach out and let me know if you loved it. We do have some guests coming up in the next few weeks, so definitely keep tuned for them. And I love you so much, and we will speak soon. Love you guys. Bye.